Hi, welcome along to part four of our audio coaching series, Confessions of a Spiritual Nomad. I'm Bernadette Logan. I'm joined again by Patricia Varley. Hi, Patricia.
Hello, Bernadette. Wonderful to be back on the program again.
Great. So the session topic for today is Reinvent Success and Your Life from the Inside Out, how to reclaim your inner wholeness. It's an inside job. So Patricia, do you want to start us off and give our listeners a little bit of a sense of what we're going to be covering today?
Absolutely, Bernadette. One of the things I just quickly like to share is that, the whole idea of reinventing success from the inside out by reclaiming your wholeness has been actually the foundation for my work for the last 20 years. So this really comes from a really deep place in me in terms of how I work with individuals and groups from the inside out, that it really is an inside job, and that it's important to realize that the inner wholeness is the starting point. It really is essential to give from within, because we cannot give what we do not have.
Mm,
And most of our working world, actually the world in general, particularly in the West, but in most places, is that we focus on the outside. We go from the outside in instead of the inside out. And what the outside in does is, not that it's wrong or bad, but it's not fully integrated. It's not fully holistic. It's not always complete. And when we are going from the inside out, connected to the wholeness of who we are, the authenticity, our intuitive knowing, our inner guidance, we can therefore create the success on the outside from a place that is much more balanced, solid, sustainable, and authentic.
brilliant. And I think when we talk about that inner wholeness, I wonder if some people, when they listen to terminology that we use like inner wholeness, what does that really mean? How do I know if I'm in a whole or I have my inner wholeness? How do I know if I'm connected to my true self and grounded? And one of the things I think may resonate for people in terms of trying to understand where they're at with their sense of self and inner wholeness is whether when they go out in the world and they're striving after and reaching for things to create happiness in their life, whether they have a sense of that they're trying to fill a void or that something's missing if they don't have those external things. And I think that's the easiest way for someone to ask themselves the question and easily understand whether they do have that sense of inner completeness. Would you agree, Patricia?
Absolutely. And I think we all know that the things outside of us, if we're trying to fill or complete a void, or we don't feel we're enough, or whatever it may be, let's say from the outside in, we all know that things in the external world are very fleeting, right? They change all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Things are constantly shifting, but that inner wholeness, that sense of um, knowing yourself, that sense of calm, that sense of groundedness in ourselves, no one can really ever take that from us. And I think the whole key about reinventing success in yourself from the inside out is cultivating that, so it is a solid, stronger place that you can access success or anything from. But the
Mm.
outside in, it may look initially like it's a great plan, but it's risky because economies break. I mean, look at all the changes in the world. Relationships change, people lose money, they lose jobs. How do we stay connected to the self and create success based on that which is a constant, which is within us?
Mm. Absolutely. Oh, that's such a good way of describing it. And this idea of the impermanence of the external world, including things like relationships, and this sense that we have almost like a really quiet, pervading unease that we need to keep a hold of things, like we need to keep a grip on our relationship, or that sense that we need to protect ourselves and our things. That unease to me is what we're talking about this impermanence out there. We kind of know, even though we may not logically be thinking about it, that those things are fleeting and they can be gone in a nanosecond. And one of the things I love about Eckhart Tolle's work is he talks about understanding that happiness is dependent on circumstance and inner peace requires nothing and can be permanent throughout your life experience. It's the inner state that you hold, which is I think what we're talking about here today, about your inner wholeness.
Well, he's amazing. I mean, talk about an enlightened being. And there's
Mm,
really a lot of truth to that. And, one of the things I want to say, as we talk about our nomadic journeys here, which is what we've been discussing, Bernadette, is that this is a process. So for those that are listening, I know, that you and I have spoken many times about when things are so unknown and you think you're going in one direction and when things are pulled out from under you, you take a complete leap of faith in one geographic direction, not knowing what's going. What is that is constant, even though on the outside things are constantly changing? And that's that state of peace that we can always develop and always count on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's also a sense of acceptance and allowing, a sense of accepting who you are, but also other people, and allowing and trusting that things will unfold. Bernadette, when you said something, I thought that was so great about wanting to, hold on to things and kind of manage them. I think sometimes we do that because it gives us a false sense of feeling like we're in control. And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes the ego mind, for lack of a better way of putting it, we want to feel like we're in control. And by overly managing or overly holding on, it's understandable in the world of change, but it really is an illusion of being in control because we're not.
Mm. So it's about being able to come into the center of yourself and understand that the only constant factor in your life is you. And the only constant factor that can bring you peace and happiness or success in whatever form is coming from your inner being, your energy, if you like. And I think when I look at people that I work with, and I'm sure you see the same thing, I'm in the online blogging world particularly and dealing a lot with people in the self-help space and a lot of readers that are interested in their personal growth. It astounds me that pretty much 99% of people understand already that the traditional definition of success, this idea of success because of external factors, whether it be material wealth, you know, huge career success, the relationship success, whatever the traditional model of success is, 99% of people understand that that model is an outdated model of what success is.
Mm-hmm.
And that model of looking for external status and external wealth and climbing the ladder or competing and winning and recognition and status, etc., this idea of striving after a destination and trying to get to it, most people already know that that is an empty model, that that model doesn't lead you to success. And that's because most people have tried that path and it doesn't lead to happiness. It leads to external moments of happiness, but it doesn't lead to inner peace and contentment.
Yeah, it's like a deeper piece, a deeper sense of deeper meaning and fulfillment and also purpose in
Hmm.
your life. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's, in the long run, it's sort of like putting a Band-Aid. We might get the raise
Mm,
or the extra
mm,
money or the title or the bigger house. But I think if we're really honest, those things are wonderful and we can be grateful for them, but they don't in the long run sustain or integrate in a deep level, really what fulfillment and also what success is. I mean, maybe the real question to ask is, what, is for those that are listening, what does success mean for you, and to define that, because I think that's a very personal definition. Wouldn't you
I
say,
think so
Bernadette?
too. I think so too, absolutely. And I think when you actually dig below the surface, people will intuitively know if you go a few layers down, that success to them means more important things. It means health. It means inner peace. It means connectedness with people. And I think we are shown in the external world through media and advertising and gosh, even social media on the surface where everyone likes to look like they're really happy and doing really well and they show us only, or we only show our happy side to everybody in the world, that's what success looks like. But I think if we scratch the surface, most of us know what it really means. And I think it's about taking time in a session like today to really say, what does success mean to me, like you've just said, Patricia, and reinvent what that means in a way that is more authentic, is more meaningful to you, is based on your values, not on what you think the expectations of the world and of other people might be for you. And I think when you touched on the band-aiding syndrome earlier, where we tend to band-aid a feeling of unease or discontent within ourselves by striving in the external world. One of the interesting things I found with my coaching clients is that, and with myself, because I've been through this process, when you look at our belief systems, which are the almost like the coding that runs us like a computer, the belief systems are so ingrained at a subconscious level, and we develop those beliefs through right from very early childhood. A lot of people, it's almost impossible to not have it at some point in your life, have beliefs about not being enough or not being loved. And so what we do is, at that deep level, if we've got coding in our belief system to that extent, we automatically try and fill the void. And if we fill it with the wrong things or things that aren't going to give us a permanent solution for that inner wholeness, e.g. external things, then we're going to just end up in this cycle and become disillusioned.
Well,
So what we're
yeah.
passionate about here is to help, is to help people to understand, when you redefine your definition of success and create that inner wholeness, it's the lasting solution. Yeah.
And it's just for interrupting there, but what I was thinking is that it takes so much energy. You talked about a cycle to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We keep trying, and many of us, this is all we know. So we have compassion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way
Mm-hmm.
we've been taught, our parents, our cultures, it's all we know. But what we're talking about is this reinventing success from the inside out, is that the reclaiming of the wholeness, and this is a key thing I want to really point out. It's nothing we have to look for. It's a reclaiming of
Mm.
what is already there. And many people run around. I used to do this too, looking and searching, and maybe it's here, maybe it's this relationship or this location or this job or this paycheck or this title or whatever. And really what we're looking for is a deeper essence that we are all born with, that everybody already has. So it's like opening up a door or a lock that is already there. So it's nothing to search for. It's something to allow, but it does take courage and a bit of a stripping away and stepping away from an identity of, you know, who and what we thought we were. And
Absolutely.
it
And I think
doesn't
that's what
mean
we've
we don't
done,
have
haven't we?
success.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we don't have success. You can make lots of money
No.
and have a beautiful home and travel, and there's nothing wrong with those things, but it's more balanced from the inside out versus the outside in.
Oh, perfect distinction to make. And actually, the truth of it is, from an energetic perspective, given we're energy beings, we're divine beings, the world is a fabric of energy. The truth is that when you come from a place of inner wholeness, then the external experience you have of success will be greater,
Hmm.
and it'll be more lasting, and it will be more enjoyable. And I mean, there's plenty of people out there experiencing great success, feeling absolutely miserable on the inside. And then there are people experiencing great success with exactly the same level of external success, material wealth, all those sorts of things, who are completely peaceful inside and have created what they've created because of their inner wholeness, and they get to enjoy it from a place of greater inner peace, I think. So like you say, it's not about any right or wrongness of the external world. That's not what it's about. It's about being able to enjoy all of that in a lasting way that's more peaceful, instead of this constant cycle of gripping on and striving and reaching for. And I think that whole path that we took as spiritual nomads may be a little extreme in some people's eyes in terms of what we let go of. But I guess for me, what that path has allowed me is a fast forward to reclaiming my inner wholeness. And I completely concur with you that there is nothing to look for or get. We are not about adding anything to ourselves. We're about going back to the truth of who we are underneath and reclaiming that, definitely.
Well, and it's sort of like an excavation. If you look at the archaeologists are excavating and you don't really know what you're going to find, but something's there. You kind of get this treasure map and, is it there? But there, what's happening, I think, in the world is because the external definitions of success or the external identities. I mean, if you look around, like you said, those models aren't working anymore. And I think everyone's trying to redesign and recreate and look around, and maybe it's this and maybe it's that. But I think what's calling us now each one of us, and I think collectively, Bernadette, I'd love to know what you think about this, is there's a deeper part of us, that wholeness that is really where a lot of healing and peace and abundance and everything can come, not only for us individually, but collectively, is
Mm,
asking us, going, hello, look within, this is where it is. And this is not always easy. It takes a lot of courage and a patience, and it's, it's like a whole new excavation, a whole new path for many, many people. But I feel that that's
definitely.
why so many things are not working, because this is what is now calling us, that inside voice, that inner wholeness that wants all of us to wake up to who we are.
Definitely, and I think we talked about in the breakdowns to breakthrough session that we did earlier in the series about how great breakthroughs come when we go through more challenging or difficult times. And I think the breakdowns we see happening out there in the world are just raising consciousness. They're raising everybody's consciousness about what's not working. And to have something work, you first of all need to see that it's not working. And then you've got to make a choice when you get to that point about what you're going to do about it. And I think
Hmm.
when we look at our own lives, people might find this kind of conversation uncomfortable. So the kind of conversation we're having, the people that are listening with us today are probably not that uncomfortable because they've come to it. But a lot of people avoid this kind of conversation, and I get a sense often, and it's probably because I was in the same space, so I understand, is that when you feel the pervading unease underneath things in your life and you don't know what it is, you don't want to take the time to understand it, because I think there's a fear that when you strip it all back, there'll be this void and you won't know how to fill it and you won't know how to fix it. And so it's better not to look, it's better to pretend it's not there and to band-aid over it. And I think we both know that's not the answer.
No, and that's why I
And
said it
that's why it
takes
takes courage.
courage. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're on the
Yeah.
same page. It does take courage, but it really is worth it. And if things, if things continue to, I mean, I think we all have to do a reality check with ourselves. If we know that things are not working and we don't have that sense of peace and fulfillment that we want, and we keep trying things in the same approach, and sometimes what's challenging is we don't know what the next approach is, but that's why you and I have kind of collaborated on this, Bernadette, from our spiritual nomad sort of path. And what we've learned is to try and hopefully help those who are listening here today to realize that there is another way. And it is a dismantling of the old beliefs and of the old approach from the outside in. But this
Mm.
is really the foundation, not just of the future, but of who we inherently are.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And I think for listeners, the two things I'd recommend would be have a look at your life and see what it is that you think is a must-have in your external circumstances in order for you to feel good about yourself and about your life, and what you need to have happening in your life from an experience point of view outside of yourself in order for you to feel successful. Whatever that thing is, if that were to be removed and you would feel bad or deflated, that is the thing that you're probably using to validate yourself. And then the second point would be, what is the feeling that you get from those things? Because whatever that feeling is, that is what you most need. And you can create that feeling within yourself without needing those external experiences or things. What that means is you can still have all those experiences and things, but you no longer rely on them to create that feeling for yourself. So a lot of people go out looking for relationships to feel lovable, when in fact you are lovable, and as soon as you love yourself, you've filled your cup and you've got more to give to others. So that was this idea of making sure we fill and feed ourselves first so that we can be of greatest benefit and of greatest service and contribution to everyone else in our lives. So those would be the 2 points I would suggest people have a look at in terms of bringing awareness into this in their own lives in relation to this topic.
Hmm. And it's a journey worth taking. That's what I would say.
Mm, mm,
Absolutely. It's a journey
yeah.
worth taking. And I think you made a great point, is that there's nothing, what I realized, just a quick story, because this, Bernadette, is years ago, I felt really, really stuck in my life and I didn't know why. And I actually asked for a sign. This is actually what started setting me on my nomadic journey here. And many years ago, I was living in Naples, Florida. And the next day I went and did a program for the day. And when I came back, my place had burned and I lost everything. So I asked for a sign and I lost all my material possessions that I had, my home, and I mean, I think everything except my car, basically, because I was in my car. And, we can ask for gentler signs, but the point is that I realized is that I didn't realize, I really didn't know how, on a subtle level, how stuck I was and defined I was by my things. I really didn't.
Mm,
I didn't think I was materialistic, but once they were gone, I really got to see like, wow, look at all the faith and the energy I'm putting into this. And now I'm so unattached to material things. However, it doesn't mean I don't have them. And this is the key thing. It's our relationship to what is external that is, so if it's coming from the inside out, like I said, you can live in a mansion with a Lamborghini and have $1 million in the bank and have a Lamborghini in the driveway, and you could have fulfillment, or you could be living in a tent in the woods and have fulfillment, because it's all about the inside out and what your relationship is to things. But when I had this beautiful townhouse in Naples, Florida, thinking I was secure and safe and this is what was going to make me whatever, even though I felt stuck, I didn't want to move. I was not willing to give it up. I got
mm,
pulled away from me to go, wow, what do I really need to access? And it actually got me on my journey of letting go. And then I needed to go on a journey to find my inner wholeness, and I keep finding it. But I want to just point that out. So now when I'm in a beautiful home, and I often am in beautiful places, it's like there's nothing wrong with it, but I realize that I can appreciate it and value it, but it doesn't define me. And it doesn't,
there's the difference.
that's the difference. Does that make sense? I really wanted to share that story, but I
Yeah.
could never have gotten that. And it's something I needed to get for my growth and to share with you and everybody obviously today, and as well as my own clients that I work with. I understand now it's about our relationship to anything external. It could be a husband, our money, our position in society, our work, and our sense of worth. We are not defined by those things. Those are places where we express and create and relate, but they're not our inherent worth. And that's the lesson.
No, that's so true, so true. And I think, oh yes, so good, Patricia. And
Yeah.
I think it's not the having, it's what the having means to you.
Mm-hmm.
So for people looking in their lives, I would really, really encourage you to really ponder on that in relation to what you feel attached to. It's not what you have, it's what the having means to you. And it's understanding that you are whole and complete and more than enough and worthy without anything. Without anything. You could be standing in the middle of nowhere with nothing and you would be successful just for being who you are. That's the point. When you can get to that place and really resonate with that at an emotional level within yourself, and you really understand what that means, you can have everything. There is nothing you cannot have and not experience in the world, but when you have that inner wholeness, everything else comes at you at a whole new level with a whole new sort of flow in your life. And the inner peace means that you can just ride the waves of life. And I think that's the difference between understanding your inner wholeness and living from it versus being thrown around by the waves of life, if you like, or being thrown around by the spin cycle. So I think that's really what we wanted to share with you today, wasn't it, Patricia? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Not really. I'm thinking one last point, and then I think, I
Mm,
mean, I feel complete, is that when we're in the place, Bernadette, that you just spoke about, we're not, it's easier to let go. We don't have to
mm,
grip and hold on so much, because
mm-hmm.
there isn't that fear of losing, because we have everything we already need. And all the things outside of us are wonderful gifts and bonuses from the universe. But
Yeah.
when we're not, we know that, oh my God, my home or my car or my lover or my money isn't the source of my completeness and stability. We grab and hold, and then, those things are impermanent. Or even if we have the money for the rest of our lives, let's say, or the relationship for the rest of our lives, if we're grabbing, we're not ever really have that deeper level of peace or fulfillment. So it's, what is the quality of your feeling as you reinvent from the inside out or the outside in, which is the older model.
Mm. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your contribution, Patricia, and
And
thank you to
yours.
all our thank you
Mhm.
and wonderful, and thank you to all our listeners for joining us. We'll be really looking forward to bringing you the next session in the series. And in the interim, if you want to receive any updates from us on the series or any other information, including lots of free tips, tools and resources on our websites. You can go to Patricia's website. Would you like to share that, Patricia?
Sure, it's patriciavarley.com, www.patriciavarley, that's V as in Victor, ARLEY.com.
Wonderful. And my website is pinchmeliving.com. That's pinchmeliving.com. So you can subscribe to receive updates from us, and we're really looking forward to bringing you the next session in our series. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Bernadette. Bye-bye.